problems most frequently in our syllabi. Sometimes, though, tables can create real problems for students who might be using a screen reader and also for those who have mobility issues and have trouble using a mouse to navigate. This short video is going to give you some easy ways to make sure that your tables in Word and on Canvas are accessible to screen readers and to people with mobility challenges. It's possible to just not use tables, and that is one option that makes your class syllabus or whatever document you are creating accessible. But perhaps you do need to use a table. Probably the most common use for tables that I see is in syllabi when we want to show conversions between percentage points and decimal points. So I'm going to take you through how to create an accessible table for that purpose here in Word. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to insert a table. And I know my table is going to have 2 columns. I'm just going to insert my table for now. It's going to have a lot of rows. I can deal with that later. And then once I have my table, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to designate a header row. So you want to select the row and then click on Table Properties. So you can right-click on it and then scroll down to Table Properties, which will come up in the menu that you see when you right-click on the row. You will see several options within the row. You want to unclick Allow Row to Break Across Pages, and then click Repeat as Header Row at the top of each page. Once you've done that, you should have a header row. So if I want to test that, I'll put in some data. I wanted to fill out this table and make the cells a little larger just so we can make sure the heading row repeated on the top of each page. That's going to be important for someone using a screen reader. If we scroll down, that did in fact work. The last thing you might do to check and see how your table is going to work with a screen reader is just to tab through the cells and make sure that when you use your tab key, you progress through the cells as you should. This is important because for documents in English, it's going to tab through the cells from top to bottom and left to right. And for people who have mobility issues and cannot use a mouse, this is very important. So that sort of covers basics about how to create an accessible table. Another thing to watch out for is that it's best not to use split cells. So if you do have split cells, it's best to merge them. Let's say that for some reason I did split these cells, and now I realize that I don't want to split the cells. This is going to create a problem for a screen reader. I can just select them and merge them, and that'll take care of the split cells. If you find that you need to have split cells, it might actually be better to make multiple tables rather than making one table with split cells, and that will help a lot. The last thing to take note of is that if your table is going to be used in Canvas or in a web environment, you should also try to have alt text for your table. To do that, click on Table Properties, and then when you look at the top of your options on the tabs on Table Properties, you'll see that alt text is one of them. Give your table a title. And then describe what's in your table. And you're done. The title allows someone to decide if they want to hear the description of the content, and the description tells people what is in that table. So that's how you would create an accessible table in Word. But what if you wanted to create a table just in Canvas? I could show you some really complex HTML code you could do to make a very pretty and exciting table, but today we're not going to do that. If you have questions about that or would like the code, just contact me and I'd be happy to share with you. For today, let's look at the simplest way, and we're going to start by creating a new page. So in your page where you're going to have a table, it's similar to what we just did. You start by inserting a table, of course. To add a caption, you click into any cell, and then you'll select the table button, and from there, you will go to Table Properties. Once you're in Table Properties, you'll want to add a caption. Click into the caption area then and type in your caption. Once you've done that, select your header cells. After that, you would create your header. So click the table tool again, and then you can click Cell and Cell Properties. After that, you will go to Cell Type, and you'll select Header Cell instead of Cell. Once you're in there, you go to Scope, and you will select Row if you want that to be a header for the whole row. And after that, you should be able to see the header there once you type it in. So if I were doing the same thing, I would do that. I could also create a column. Say instead of doing this, I was trying to create a schedule, and then down the side, I want to make that a header column as well, because I'm going to be putting the times in. So here, I would go to the table tool again, and then I would select the cell and cell properties, and I would make it a header cell, and this time for the scope, I would make the scope for the column. And save that, and then I could put in my times. Obviously my formatting is a little wonky and I would need to fix that, but I just wanted to kind of show you how you could make a table. And again, this could be read by a screen reader and it would read properly from left to right, and it would have a caption. Let's say I didn't do some of those things. So let's delete this table. Let's insert a new table. And now let's see what happens if I don't do any of those things. Again, I know I have typos and bad formatting, but that's not the purpose here. Notice that when I click on the accessibility checker, it's going to tell me what's missing. It says that my table needs a caption, so I need to add a caption, and then it also says it needs to have a header. So one thing you can do if the steps I walked you through first seem a little cumbersome is you can just create your table, and then you can go through and check it with the accessibility checker. That is another way to make your table accessible. Thanks, and I hope this was helpful.